Folks, thanks for tuning in. I know it's late in the day. We usually like to try and get the information out to you at Stockwell Day-to-Day News, give you the insights behind the big headlines. And I'm traveling and I'm in the capital of Canada today and involved in a number of meetings. So this podcast today is not going to be lengthy, but I want to bring to your attention something, I call it phenomenal, that is going to be taking place tomorrow in Canada in the House of Commons. And here's what it is. See if you like this. And this is for whether you're a person of faith or not a person of faith. I think you'll find this of interest. So today in Ottawa, they held something called the National Day of Prayer, or the National Prayer Breakfast. Many countries around the world do this, where the elected people, the parliamentarian, whether the people of faith or not, have a breakfast, and they gather people, their speakers, and they focus on the element of prayer and reading of scripture. And politicians, the elected politicians, the members of parliament attend, and the prime minister usually attends, and the leader of the opposition usually attends. And that's exactly what happened today. The Prime Minister Carney, was there. The leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, was there, as were others. Now, here's what's interesting about the timing, and each of them quite willingly, and I will say in a very meaningful way, they read from scripture, and they commented on the scripture as if they were giving mini commentaries, or some might call them little sermonettes, and it was all very good, and people appreciate it. But here's what's interesting. Tomorrow, there will be the final vote in the House of Commons on a piece of legislation that's I think euphemistically called a bill to deal with hate, or hate legislation. And it's called, the number on it is Bill C9, if you want to look it up and follow it along. Our friends from the U.S., that's what it's called, Bill C9. And what it is purported to be able to empower government officials to really go after people who are causing hate, inciting hate, saying things that are hateful. Now, this has always been a huge topic of debate and discussion. Who defines hate? Who's going to be the final judge of that? Who will say who can be arrested for hate speech or not? If I say I hate a certain hockey team, or I hate a certain football team, and it makes me angry whenever they play, am I actually spewing hate? I think not. But there are groups who are saying that hate speech, one of the causes, one of the roots of it, is from biblical scriptures itself. And what's very interesting about this particular bill, Bill C9, is that there has been a provision in Canadian law, which is a proper provision, a constitutional provision, that people who are reading scriptures and reading them in good faith, and not just necessarily the Christian faith, it could also be the Jewish faith or other faiths. If they're reading scriptures in good faith, they cannot be charged with hate-related speech or inciting hatred. That's always been a constitutional protection. In fact, in most countries other than communist countries, that exists in some way, shape, or form. Well, that is being taken away. The religious protection is being taken away in this legislation. Also, when it comes to hate crime, just because it is, it's all in the eye of the beholder. It can be interpreted any way. It can be used against an enemy. It can be used against an adversary. And so the Auditor General in Canada has always had to be involved if there's going to be charges pressed. It was like a safeguard, a final safeguard to protect the person being charged. That also is being taken away. So it will not have to go before an Auditor General. I mean, you could have a situation quite literally where your neighbor could charge you with hate-related speech, or ask that you be charged, call the police, show something that you said online, maybe got you when you were reading a Bible verse out loud. The neighbor does not have to be identified many times, depending on how the legislation goes forward, or how the prosecution goes forward, whether it's so-called by a tribunal or whether it goes to an actual court. Regardless of that, it has come to what's called the third reading. Now, for our American friends and friends around the world, the third is the final reading of a piece of legislation. This particular legislation was pushed through with great haste. The Liberal Party of Canada under Prime Minister Carney has a working majority when they have a coalition of support behind them. So they got great support from the Separatist Party in Quebec for this legislation, and of course great support from the Socialist Party, the NDP in Canada. So they knew they would have a working majority when it came to a vote on this. And it was rushed through. The usual time that's taken for legislation did not apply, and tomorrow will be the final vote at third reading. Now, in Canada, legislation does go to the Senate for final approval, and they look at it and they might even suggest some changes or amendments. But because in Canada, senators are not elected, believe it or not, they are appointed by the governing power, which shows that if you really want to maintain long-term protection for your legislation in the House of Commons, just make sure you're appointing the right people to the Senate. Anyway, the Senate will not stop it. That is absolutely not going to happen. And so we have the very real possibility that tomorrow in Canada, the law could be changed. It'll come into effect sometime after that, and the religious protection would be taken away. Now, the thing that was interesting in the timing on this is that this coincides with the National Day of Prayer, the National Prayer Breakfast. And in conjunction with that breakfast, following it immediately is another one. This is the first time this one's happened in Canada. It's called a Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, where people who are wanting to support Israel, wanting to support the Jewish people around the world, and who are against Semitism, this is going to be a very meaningful time for them too. And there will be reading of Scripture, Hebrew Scripture, and there will be prayers. Some of it will be from rabbis. That could all change quite literally tomorrow. And this morning it struck me as the Prime Minister was reading, and he had some very good comments. I don't fault him for that. But he was reading from the very book of which he could be making it illegal to read passages of Scripture. So obviously the different prayer groups, if you believe in prayer, a lot of that going up right now. We'll see what happens. A lot of people reflecting on the amazing timing of this, right at the same timing of the National Day, the National Prayer Breakfast. There will be legislation, could be tomorrow, striking down the ability for somebody to legally read texts from Scripture. If you're a person of prayer, pray about that. If you're not, you'll want to watch and see what's happening. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you with the full podcast tomorrow. Thanks, bye.